You can wallpaper Times Square with your logo and still close nothing. I mean this. Why? Because I think awareness is just really what you buy and trust is what you earn. And I think Israeli founders keep confusing that receipt for the relationship. And really, I think that's something that is a major issue, because awareness in and of itself doesn't move the needle. And we've seen this, right? Mm-hmm. No person who runs organic social media profiles will ever tell you that they're trying to bring leads. And if anyone ever guarantees you that they can bring leads from organic media, they're lying. Okay? So we all know this. And yet when we also go and do go-to-market strategies, and by the way, this one even beyond North America is really anywhere, awareness is not going to move the needle for you really at all. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes it's also funny because I'm sure you've seen this too, right? Where you've seen founders come to you and say, hey, let's do a campaign, or let's put up a PR, or let's do up some flyers. And really it falls short. And I think it's because the main element here that they're not building is trust. Trust in the market, credibility, and finding people who, in a sense, are willing to go to bat for you. So when you work with a founder who's in that stage of trying to, grow and is trying to make that splash in the market, and they come to you and they say, hey, look, I'm looking to do a campaign for awareness. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Or do you kind of tune that?
It really depends on where they are, right?
Sure.
Like what is the end goal here?
Sure.
If the awareness campaign is part one of a bigger
10 campaigns,
yes.
10 things, right?
It makes sense. But,
okay.
Usually they don't say that.
Right.
I would say it depends why they want to do it. Sometimes I think, and I've seen this, across the board, even with the people from the legal world,
sure.
By the way, lawyers, they just want to see the logo of the company there. That's, by the way, why they do the Times Square, sure. Right? You close your eyes, you see them standing there and they taking photos.
Yeah.
It's not good for the U.S. market.
No, of course.
No one's going to buy an enterprise software in $100,000 because your logo was there.
Right.
And you paid for it, I don't know,
right.
that 15 seconds loop, $15,000
sure.
per day. They do it for Israel.
Right.
For Calcalis to pick it up,
right.
for their investors, for employee branding.
Right.
Look at us. Oh, they're on Times Square. It's a successful company.
Yeah.
Great. That's awareness.
Yeah.
What did you get from it? Every founder, they want sales.
Yeah.
Revenues, right?
Yeah.
So I would never hear that from a founder, I feel.
Yeah.
But again, what are we trying to do?
I mean, I think that's the element there too, right? Because you're saying, at one element, they're coming to you, they say they want sales, right? Mm-hmm. But sales come from trust, right? Even when you go on one of the very first things when I ever was kind of getting into business, right? When I was actually starting my own business, I was talking to a guy who was in sales and he said, Jordan, the first thing you have to do when you're on a call with someone, beyond anything, it's not giving them the demo, obviously you have to listen to them, right? But the first thing you need to do is build trust. Because if they can trust you, they'll buy anything from you.
Yeah.
That's the truth. They'll buy anything.
It reminds me, you mentioned the story from the first episode we've done.
Which one?
The one with you got this call and someone didn't listen to you?
The CISO? Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
So exactly. Because, for example, what happened in that situation, and I'll just bring it up again, basically I was helping a cyber founder who was pitching to, a cyber solution, had a CISO on a call from Idaho, which is, it's a big state. Boise, Idaho has 1 million people. It's a big growing urban area. Yeah, you wouldn't know that, right? You wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Basically the size of Tel Aviv in Boise, Idaho. You know what I mean? And is talking to him, and within a little bit of the conversation, the guy was talking a little bit about his moving around the U.S. and he was talking about how he's basically stayed on the West Coast and he was kind of dumping on the East Coast. And being from the West myself, being from Colorado, I was able to kind of vibe with him on that. And actually, it got to a really good point in the conversation because he liked, I was able to build that trust. Like, he knew me, he understood me.
Yeah.
And so it kind of opened the door for the conversation to be good. Though the conversation, later turned negative for a variety of kind of, salesy reasons, which we don't have to get into in this specific discussion. That is that level of trust building that I think is sometimes misunderstood, but that's a cultural context because that's understanding the cultural context. But also it's, if I can build that trust with him, right? And let's say that guy had actually liked the founder and had been willing to take the discussion forward, which he didn't, unfortunately, because of what happened. That guy could have been, in a sense, the biggest fan for that founder's solution in the US. Could have been not only a testimonial on the website or a testimonial on their YouTube page. He could have turned into a channel partner. He could have turned into someone who enlists other people. He could have started a referral network.
And this is, again, we're talking about that awareness wouldn't bring this. The credibility and trust would do that.
Yeah.
And for that, you need a small talk. You need to, that's not a billboard in Times Square.
No.
That's different things.
I mean, listen, let's be honest here. A billboard in Times Square wouldn't have even reached this guy. He's a CISO of a major company in Idaho, which I know sounds ridiculous, but it is. It has its own situation. He's in Idaho. He has that ability to do that. And guess what? He's not actually, he's not looking at New York. He's not looking at Chicago. Where are you putting your awareness matters, but also who are you getting to go to bat for you? The company he works with is a major player in the West. Major player. You want that type of credibility. And if you don't have it, then no matter how many, billboards you take out, no matter how many ads you put in the newspaper, no matter how many targeted Google campaigns you do, you're not going to move the needle more.
Yeah. And we talked about, Manhattan in previous chapters, episodes. I'm sure that you've seen this, but I've seen this a lot. Founders, CEOs, they'll post a few things on LinkedIn. They'll send a few emails to the Israeli community in Manhattan.
Sure.
Hey, I'm in New York next week. Who wants to meet? And at best, they schedule a few meetings.
Sure.
Right. But from an American standpoint, what do you feel when you see a foreign founder, right? He's Israeli, which is probably not good right now, but posting, hey, I'm in New York this week. Does it feel like a go-to-market strategy or like a travel arrangement kind of announcement?
Well, it's funny. I've done it myself, right? Because I like to tell people where I am for different things. When I do that, the only goal is to see if I can get extra meetings. That's it. That's my only goal. Because generally, if I'm posting that, it's because I'm there for a reason. And I think that's actually something that has to be said there. If these founders are going there with the goal of just posting on their LinkedIn and kind of hoping for people to want to jump at their product because of whatever reason, doesn't matter if it's that a good article, they actually might have something there or not.
Goat City.
Yeah, they're not. You're not going to get someone to talk to you just because of that. However, if you're just saying, hey, I already have 7 meetings set up for the next 5 days in New York.
Now you can post.
Right, now I can post because guess what? Maybe it's going to get to, John, Lynn, and Phil, and I'm going to have 3 more meetings that I didn't even know I could have, had. Great. That's, for example, a great way to use awareness. You have a base, and you're using it to maybe amplify the noise. But in a sense, you have that base. Just like that founder could have done with the cyber guy.
Yeah.
Get the base. Get people who believe in your product. Get people who want to go to bat for you. And then do your Times Square billboard. Do your campaigns. Push it. Sell it. Get the leads.
Sounds like a process and a structure for me. It feels.
What does that sound like to you? Don't we know that word as strategy?
It feels like that local hero trap to me. Like successful Israeli companies that are successful in Israel.
Yeah.
Okay. Feel they know what to do, that they cracked it, and now they want to conquer the US. It's at the end of the day, it's zero trust. Unlike in Israel, the fact that I've seen your ad doesn't mean that I'm going to buy from you, right? We talked about how they're going to like your post, they're going to say yes, thanks, but that's it.
Well, it's also a touch points game, right? All thing awareness is really a game of touch points.
Yeah.
And the more touch points you have, the more people are just aware of your product. That's why if you put the way Steve Jobs made the computer was that he wanted the Apple logo to face outwards so that people could actually see the logo of the computer, right? If you're all sitting in a library, you see it 7 times, you're gonna be like, wow, I need to maybe buy a Mac, right?
Yeah.
Same idea here, but at the end of the day, that's such a resource-intensive strategy. Awareness, right? You have to do so many touch points to even move the needle. And we're talking about something different. It's trust building strategy, which requires a different go-to-market move than just awareness. Awareness is certainly part of it, though.
Right. So if you don't have a trust infrastructure in the US, you do not exist. From my experience, the U.S. market doesn't want to take a chance and be the first. So
unless it's maybe an American company,
yes,
and that's
so
also to be
that's
said.
my question. As an American, why do you feel American buyers are gonna feel that there's a risk using a foreign company or foreign brand that just pops without validation, and also what would make an American buyer feel like they can trust that new company, new logo?
Well, I'm going to start from the end. The way for them to trust a company is to feel that it's speaking to them. So, and what I mean by that is
not in a British accent.
Exactly, right? Not in a British accent, not with Canadian oot in a boot, right? Nothing. And it doesn't, by the way, mean that, just because you did like an awareness campaign in good American English, that they're also going to trust you. But, having that built-in character of, hey, do I have testimonials from Americans? Do I have videos from Americans speaking American English, talking to me in American English and telling me this? Is the founder maybe speaking to me in good English in a video and making me feel that he gets me, he understands me, he's from kind of my neck of the woods? These are all things that, in a sense, are what I would call the subtext of the growth, pipeline in America of understanding, hey, this is American infrastructure. This is built with you in mind. This is built with your problems in mind, and we're here to solve that. Not, hey, we're this company that came from over there who wants to now grow here, and so now we're going to try to sell to you and get into your, face as much as we can. Of course, there are exceptions to the rules, like all things, right? Some people do well like that. Some people succeed. Sometimes the product is just that good. But let's be honest, those are outliers. They're not the norm. And so I think that that's something to be said, and you have to build that. And that's really what it is. I think Americans, otherwise, when they look at a company like that, they just kind of, in America, you're spammed by, let's say Indian telemarketers, who have bad English and you don't know what's going on. And so in a sense, I think we all have that kind of feeling of like, okay, I'm getting sold by someone who just wants my money and I don't want to deal with that, and I think that is something that Americans can kind of pull back from, and sure, you might be able to sell, an old lady in a mall, aggressively with Dead Sea products, right? But that's not a CEO at a Fortune 500 company.
That's correct. So if we're building a trust infrastructure, what do you think companies should do first, assuming they accept that they need to do it?
To be honest, I think your number one goal is building out some type of partnership network in the US, whatever that means for you at the stage that you're at and for your company. Because let's be honest, every company is different, right? You have B2C products, B2B products, you have deep depth products, they're all different. But it's building out that network in that way and actually finding those partners. And what I mean by partners is those can be advisors, those could be board members, for example, for your company that can go to bat for you and have a stake in you.
Yeah.
But it can also be people who are willing to pilot your solution, are willing to distribute your solution, are willing to, act as a referral agent for your solution. And you do that obviously over time. Those guys are not going to just jump into your boat tomorrow because you have a great idea. You also have to show it to them. And so building that out takes time. But these guys, once you've built it, it's like this story that I was being told the other day. It was a video where they were comparing a guy who has one house that he's putting little money into over time, trying to fix, but there's always an issue, and there's more issues and more issues because he got the house, it wasn't so nice, and he's not putting enough time. And over time, he actually finds that he's spending more and more money in the house because things just keep falling apart. Whereas the other guy kind of had a big investment at the start to really fix the house, get everything good. And over time, he's actually spending little money over time, much less than the guy over there, because he basically dealt with all the issues at the start. And now it's just kind of fixing minor details at the moment.
Enhancements and upgrades.
Exactly. And this is that situation. Put in that heavy work at the start, build out those partners so that then when you actually want to kind of just do your work, guess what? They're building it for you. They're supporting your trust network. They're selling for you.
So what I'm hearing is also, just to summarize this, is that instead of, we're going to come and take over and conquer Manhattan in the US, Israeli companies should start by lending, have some boots on the ground. And, build credibility is a hard work. It takes time.
100%.
Right? You do this before you burn money on budget or awareness campaigns and stuff like that. And we're looking for, local validation. We're looking for U.S. Success stories and case studies, local, because it means that I'm here to stay. I'm not just like a local hero from Tel Aviv.
Right.
And I think that's the bottom line. I think that's very important. So don't be a go-to-market tourist.
Right.
Right.
For example, I always like to say too, you can be that local guy who's big in Tel Aviv, and guess what? That will get you the pilot in the States.
Yeah.
That will get you that initial partner meeting to talk to you. Because hey, Israel has a good reputation in terms of tech and technology and all that stuff, for sure. And even people who don't know it are generally, if they're not, anti-Semitic or anti-Israel, are wanting to talk to you. But hey, you got to build that out. That you have to start slow because that pilot project could be the landing piece for you to then actually expand from. Hey, this company agreed to work with us. They liked us. They approved it. Hey, now we can move with anyone else.
And you learn a lot in the process, right?
100%.
Jump on calls. You learn that the messaging you thought it's not going to work for you because you hear the same terminology, right? Yeah. We talked about this before in a different episode, but when I was in Boston, I was working on different ventures as a part of business school or just a part of different ventures that I was involved in.
Yeah.
I actually talked to people on the street.
Yeah, there you go.
You hear so much like, the way what we're saying about ourselves and what they're hearing is completely different. Yeah. They're using these words. I would never think about doing that. Right. And now do that before you burn the budget. Yeah. Use them, make the most out of it.
Right.
So,
and that's by building out those partner networks. I really believe that because they'll tell you straight up too. Because listen, a partner, as much as they might want their own interests recognized and might have their own interest in partnering with you, listen, they're going to tell you how it is. They're not going to partner with you if it's bad. They're not going to sell it in a way if you're selling it wrong. Yeah. That's just not how it's going to work. And I've seen it. So yeah, I generally believe that, and I think also at the end of the day too, it's that every part of America too is kind of different in its trust infrastructure, and I think that's also very important too. And so when founders are picking their geographic landing point in the U.S., they really need to understand how that's built because some places, and obviously industries are even more specific, but some places sometimes forward, people-to-people connections is sometimes a lot more valued than Zoom meetings. In a place like New York City where everyone's moving very fast, of course Zoom meetings can move it forward. In a place like Colorado, guess what? They can do that too. But sometimes you actually need to be on the ground and talk to the people and be at those meetings, be at those networking events. Yeah. And that's real.
I think at some point we need to talk about what actually works, but maybe we'll save that for
another episode.
Later episode. Yeah.
Sounds good.